In today's video, I decided that it's about time I start expanding my world into the different realms. So I went looking for the End Fortress, and so I started building, and I almost died a few times. Luckily, I found a bastion, and when I went inside, there was pretty good loot. Nothing crazy, but things that I could definitely advance far through. I ended up finding another fortress, and I found a pretty good way to just constantly get blaze rods without putting myself into too much danger. Now, of course, I did almost die a few times, but after getting a good amount of blaze rods, I went back so I could start working on my way to get to the end. I also leveled up my leggings and got them with netherite, and I think they look pretty sick. I'm hoping to get netherite for all my armor. And then I bought a bunch of ender pearls for my cleric, and I just got right to work getting a bow so I could kill the ender dragon. Now, I haven't killed the ender dragon in a really long time, but I'm really excited to get back to doing it. Of course, I threw my ender pearl right into my tree to begin it, but after that we got right on our way. Now, luckily for me, I found a igloo with a golden apple in the basement. I didn't have time to heal the villager, but I did have to leave my horse just because I discovered that I would have to cross I thought that I'd have to cross the ocean to get to the stronghold. But after throwing it, I realized I actually passed it. It's super close to my house. It's in the ice biome, and it's just underneath the ice right here. So I dug down, and I finally found the stronghold, and I just went right inside, and I instantly found the library and then the portal room right there. And it had a few visitors, which is okay, but I just got right in. I went and got a lot of books and like enchantments and stuff. I took all these bookshelves just so I could trade back to my villagers. I put the pearls in, and I was right on my way. After that, I jumped right in and I just started working on fighting Nessie. Or is it Jean? I've heard it's both ways. I'm pretty sure it's Jean. But instantly, I got to destroying the crystals and getting a safe place just in case some Enderman tried to fight me. I almost got killed a few times because I kept trying to go up and it just kept knocking me off. Luckily, I have Thorns 3 on a lot of my armor, so it took a bunch of damage that I was taking. But after a while, I started shooting at it and just getting a lot of good hits in. My bow is actually really powerful, and I kept getting really good hits on it, but eventually it went in for its final perch, and I just went in and finished the job. Now, luckily, it gave me a whole bunch of XP. I think I raised like 41 levels or something. I went from like level 20 to level 60. Yeah, just level 60. And so then I went looking for an end city. The biggest goal was that I could get an elytra. And so I found one, but it did not have the ship on it. So I was kind of basically just there for the shulker shells. But I forgot how good the loot actually is in there. But this Enderman did try to kill me, which was really scary. But, so yeah, I just got right to fighting all the shulkers. I did end up finding later that 2 hits with my bow would kill them. So it was a really easy job to just get rid of all these things. But I keep forgetting how good the loot is in these things. And then I found an end city that actually did have a ship. So I built right over to it, ready to kill the shulkers with my bow. Luckily that was really easy. Went over and I grabbed the elytra. And now we're into the next stage of our world. I did also claim a lot of the stuff. And I grabbed the dragon egg. This will actually come in handy at a later video. I have some plans to do with this kind of thing. But after that, I decided it's probably time that I should start heading home. So I went right back in and I got to work. I also forgot the egg, so I had to go back in. But I grabbed the egg and I went home and I decided to grab some more books just so I can trade them to my villagers later on. After I started heading home, I decided it was probably time for me to make an ender chest just because it would be really nice to get the items that I collected while in the end. And it would just make everything easier. And then I upgraded my elytra just to make sure it wouldn't break on me. And I decided it's probably time that I should create a mob farm so I could get gunpowder to make rockets. Now I found this pretty simple design and unfortunately it didn't end up working very well. It still gets me some mobs, just not at the rate that I would like. But this was a pretty easy tutorial to follow. It took me maybe an hour to build just because I had to collect a lot of materials. And building trapdoors is such a pain. But it finally finished and it was working pretty well. So I got enough fireworks and stuff. And I decided to add a little thing on top of it just so when I put it all on the map it looks pretty cool. And so I added my logo and I thought it looks pretty nice. And then I decided, you know what, I should go back to the end just because I'd like to make things look a little nicer in there. And so I decided to head over And I went down and I found the stronghold again. Luckily it's super close like I said earlier, so it's not a hassle. And I cleaned up the end a little bit from my fight with the Ender Dragon, and I leveled all the area out and decided to just make it this big even platform all around the towers. And luckily this didn't take too long because it was mostly even already as it was. But once I finished that, I decided it was probably time that I should start building something in here. So I took a look around trying to figure out what I should do, and I decided to start with the towers individually, and so I broke down some trees just to get some spruce wood. I really wanted to go for a medieval themed tower, and so on each of the obsidian towers I finally found a design that I liked enough, and it looked pretty good, so I just applied this to all of the other towers. This took me a good amount of time just because I had to go back and forth for getting materials. I did end up trying to plant some trees, but after a while that didn't work, and so I just ended up finishing it. Now it was time to build the foundation for the big build that I'm placing in the middle. Now the problem with building in the end is just every time I fly around, I'm gonna look at an Enderman at least once, so I just constantly either have to fly away or fight them. But finally, it was time to build a really nice tower, and I was really excited with the design that I had picked. I got it off a YouTube video, which I will put the link to the description in the comments, or just in the description below. And then I decided that it would probably look good with some blue, and I did make some changes from the original, nothing too crazy, but just to kind of make my life easier, because this build took me a really long time to make. Now after a while, it was just really nice to be able to take a step back and just look at the big picture. I did end up putting the portal right in the middle, and I'm planning on putting a beacon inside at some point, but that's pretty far in the future. If anything though, it might even just be in the next video, because I'm planning on beating the weather. But after a while, I decided it was probably time to go back home. I did fly around just for a little bit because I had spent so many hours just building this thing, and it took forever. But now it's time to go back. I then went mining because I wanted to get all netherite armor, and so I found a good chunk of netherite just in this little spot. And so I kept mining just because I found that I had really good luck in this session. And I took some of the gunpowder from my farm and I got some TNT, and I went TNT mining, which isn't the most efficient for some reason. I did end up getting a few pieces of ancient debris, but I would think I was more efficient when I was just mining in a straight line, so eventually I did go back to that, and I ended up getting a good amount of ancient debris, 19 in total. And so after that, I decided it was probably time for me to build some kind of other build. And I wanted to build a statue that kind of represents me, and so I put the big YouTube icon, and I decided to build my character just stomping on it. I saw this design, but it was of Herobrine, and so I kind of wanted to recreate it in my own way. And it took me a good amount of time, but I was really happy with how it turned out. The hair alone just took me so much time that I was starting to lose motivation, but then once I added the sword, it just looked really good all together, and I was super happy with it. I then went around just trying to make the area look a little more nice by adding some path decorations. Just eventually this is all going to be gone, and so once I want it to look the way it is, it's just going to have to look a lot more refined. Now at this point I was planning on ending the video here, but I just did not get enough recording time, and I wanted to pass the 8-minute mark. So I decided it was probably time for me to just build another project. So I got right to work building a volcano over here where I originally planned to put a dragon. So I put the layout out. It was just a very janky design, but after I put the dirt in, it actually was looking pretty decent. I've never built anything that's this heavily reliant on landscaping, but after adding a few more details, making it look more lava-like, I think it just ended up really nicely. And granted, I will have to edit it a little more, but at this point I did have enough footage and I just wanted to get this video out. And so I just started adding tiny details, and it was looking amazing so far. After upgrading my map, I think it was really nice to just see the difference that this volcano made. And I just really want to add more big builds into my world, but at this point I was finally able to just sit back and decide that it's time to end the video. I got a lot of work done, and I'm really happy with all the different things that I tried. I went from making castles to making towers and volcanoes and statues, something I never really do. But I was really happy with it, and I hope you guys are too, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.